Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, Out of Voice Radio. So today, we're going to be looking at Girafarig. And ladies and gentlemen, this is kind of exciting for me. Because as far as I'm aware, and somebody please correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think I've ever done a video about Girafarig. I know, right? So welcome, Girafarig, to PTCGRadio. But is this card any good? Well, I mean, if it was out and out terribly garbage, I wouldn't be giving it its own video. And we can see from those little Lost Zone-y things on the card, this is going to involve the Lost Zone. As a side note, Pokemon are continuing the motif they did back in Triumphant, etc., whereby if a Pokemon has attacks which do involve the Lost Zone, they are at least being nice enough to put the Lost Zone in the artwork. But anyway, that's not what's important right now. What's important is what this card actually does. Now, it is a basic psychic Pokemon, which does mean that you're hitting weakness against stuff like Buzzwole and Naganadel, which is quite nice. You've got 90 HP, which honestly, it's not impressive. It's nothing to be excited about. Good news, if you head into the expanded format, you can use Level Ball. Outside of that, it's not particularly great. Now, the good news is that if you also head into the expanded format, you can have Dimension Valley, which will reduce the attack cost by 1 colorless energy. But outside of that, we don't really have anything great for Psychic Pokemon at the moment. I mean, sure, we've got Morty, which is some nice disruption, and Spell Tag, which is a decent item tool that spreads a bit of damage around when it's KO'd. I'll pop links to both of those videos in the description. But as it stands, Psychic, great for weakness, bad for extra tricks. Now, the retreat cost here is 1, which means Escape Board will give you free retreat post-rotation, though I still hate saying the name of that card. And the weakness to Psychic is a bit of a pain for stuff like Garbodor, but, you know, you got 90 HP. I don't think weakness is on the top of our list of concerns. What I will say is that you can at least take a hit from Espeon, 30 plus confusion for 1 energy, so you know what? You know, that's at least a handy bonus. Yay! Etc. I can take a Psybeam from Espeon GX. But anyway, what do the attacks do? It's the first attack that we're most concerned with here. 1 colorless energy. Put any 2 cards from your opponent's discard pile into their Lost Zone. More proof, if anyone needed, that the Lost Zone is back in full force in Lost Thunder. Although we did look at Jumpluff the other day, and we looked at Slowking the other day, and we looked at Tyranitar the other day. Look, there's a whole bunch of Pokemon, alright, that are going to interact with the Lost Zone in this new set. I like that. But here's something that's super important. It's a basic Pokemon for a single colorless energy. That means that you are not going to have to struggle to get this into a deck. This can fit very nicely into any deck whatsoever, as long as they're playing energy. So maybe you've got the odd Wailord Stool deck that it won't, but as long as they're playing energy, you are going to have no issue getting rid of this. You are going to be able to use this to get their cards into the Lost Zone in whatever deck you like. So how good is it to be able to take 2 cards from their discard pile and put them in the Lost Zone? We'll put it this way. Lysander Prism Star, which is worth mentioning, is a Prism Star, a once per deck supporter card. For each of your fire Pokemon in play, put a card from your opponent's discard pile into the Lost Zone. That's your supporter for the turn, and it's a Prism Star. Now, to be fair, you could in theory get up to 6 here, but remember that time you pop in Pokemon like Tapu Lele and Octillery, which you're going to need most of the time. Probably Oranguru after rotation, but still, you're probably only getting 3 or 4 cards in the Lost Zone, whereas Girafarig can be going from the very beginning of the game, putting cards into the Lost Zone. And this is fun, because you'll often see people doing stuff like playing an Ultra Ball in the early game and going, well, I don't really want to discard these 2 Zoroark, but it's okay because I've got a Rescue Stretch in my deck, so I'll grab a Rescue Stretcher and I'll be fine. I don't really want to discard these energy, but it's alright, I'm playing Energy Recycler, so I'm gonna be okay. I don't really want to discard these Guzma, but it's alright, because I'm playing Palpad, so I'm going to be able to get them back. Lots and lots of good things. Well, for you, not for your opponent. It's going to mean that your opponent has to think super, super carefully about which cards they have to discard with something like Ultra Ball. But let's remember that the new Zeb Striker, link to that video in the description, is going to be one of the best draw cards we've got post-rotation. It allows you once per turn to discard your hand and draw a new hand of 4 cards. This is cool. But if your opponent's playing Girafarig, it's not that simple. Like I've said, Special Energy is the one exception. With Special Charge and Puzzle of Time both going away, we don't actually have a way to recover Special Energy at the moment. But every other card, we basically can get it back. Maybe not item cards so easily. But your energy cards, your Pokemon cards, your supporter cards, we can get them back. So you might look at something like a Zeb Striker and go, "Ooh, I don't really want to discard this Guzma and this Zoroark, but I can get them back later." Well, now you're going to have to really consider whether you actually can. And there's plenty of Pokemon out there like Banette GX and Gardevoir GX that have attacks that can recover stuff from the discard pile. Gardevoir lets you shuffle any 10 cards back into your deck. Banette lets you put any 3 cards back into your hand. Well, if you're playing those decks, there is a certain amount of "it's okay, I can fix it later" when you play the deck. But that's not the case with Girafarig. What I love about Girafarig is, and I don't think it's a Pokemon, right, where you put it in the active and just leave it there and just use this turn after turn. I think that would be very, very, very bad. I don't think that would go well. I think Girafarig is the kind of Pokemon whereby if you use it at the right time, you can literally cost your opponent the game. At a recent League Cup, I lost a game because I had to use a Professor Sycamore turn 1 and discard 3 Guzma. If I didn't do that, I would have lost the game. So I had to discard those 3 Guzma, but I said it's okay. I play Palpad. As it turned out, Palpad was one of the last 3 cards in my deck. I never drew into it. I lost because I couldn't have a Guzma. Lost me the game. Girafarig makes stuff like that happen more often. It's the kind of attack that good players are going to be able to use to literally win games. Identifying that your opponent needs to recover 4 energy, so you get rid of 2 of them and they will lose the game. Knowing that your opponent needs 2 Guzma to win the game, knowing that they play 3, maybe you counted them in the previous game, maybe you know they're using a particular deck list, etc. So if you can get 2 of them into the loss zone, you know that they're not going to be able to recover them. The best way to say how good Girafarig is this. If we didn't need to recover Pokemon, we wouldn't play Rescue Stretcher. If we didn't need to recover supporters, we wouldn't play Palpad. If we didn't need to recover energy, we wouldn't play stuff like Energy Recycler. Although, to be fair, that's a bit rarer. A lot of decks don't play that. But these cards do see play. If we didn't need to get stuff back from the discard pile, we wouldn't play these cards. And in fact, if we didn't need to get stuff back from the discard pile, the lost zone wouldn't even exist because the discard pile and the lost zone would be the same. This is a kind of card, and it's a basic for a single energy, I cannot stress that enough, whereby if you drop it at the right time and get rid of the right cards, you will win the game. And maybe you're thinking, "Oh, come on, Wassy. No one's ever going to put 2 Zoroark into their discard pile. You're being unrealistic." Really? You've never had 1 basic down and a Professor Sycamore / Zeb Striker with 2 Zoroark in hand and no other option but to discard your hand or lose the game. We've all been there. We've all had to discard these cards. We've all had to discard 2 Zoroark with an Ultra Ball or something similar to get a basic so we don't lose the game next turn. We've all been there. Maybe you use that Ultra Ball to grab a Tapu Lele to get yourself set up. This will happen. And Girafarig, basic Pokemon, 1 basic energy, is able to just drop down and go, now I've screwed you for the rest of the game. Now you're playing a deck with 2 Zoroark in. Don't you feel stupid? That's what's so great about Girafarig. The second attack is garbage. 3 colorless energy, 70 damage would be great. Because I would say that you could pop a choice band on there, and then you're, for a basic Pokemon, 3 energy, including the ability to use double colorless, getting a 1-hit KO on Buzzwole, and Necrozma, and Espeon, and a bunch of other stuff. I would be saying that if it wasn't for the fact that it doesn't hit weakness or resistance. To be fair, there are a bunch of Pokemon that resist Psychic, and going through resistance means you'll get a KO on a Zorua, rather than hitting 450 and not getting a KO. But this attack would be phenomenal if you could hit for weakness. But you're not, which sucks. Otherwise, this would be a great anti-Buzzwole tech. But it's not. But the first attack alone makes me give it between 4 and 5 Wassies. I think this is the kind of card that people are really sleeping on. And I don't think it's the kind of card that you play and even use in every game. I think this is the kind of card where if your opponent is forced into an awkward discard, you can drop it and win the game. But hey, maybe you disagree with me, in which case, well, I mean, there's a comment section. So go nuts, but do be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at The Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and so on, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves. Until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.